Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minion with me thus far is Cryptic.
Hello.
And we should be getting joined by Sora, Luna, and Adam. Sora just sent me a message saying that she's on her way, just running a little bit late, and Adam should be here. I haven't heard anything saying that he won't be here, but they're running a bit behind schedule. And of course, since it's a Friday, I'm the keeper for this evening, Sanguine. So how you doing, Cryptic?
I'm doing all right. Another day in paradise.
Yep.
How about you?
I'm doing fairly well. I've just finished a second week of a shit ton of overtime, but that means that the paycheck that's going to land on my birthday will be fan-fucking-tastic.
You know what? As long as your paycheck is bigger than Foodie Booty. Oh, whatever the fuck her name is. Just saying.
The shit that's happening with that. Do you listen to any of that stuff that Sinatra does on those big broads? Because, good God.
No, I don't. I usually come in and go make a fat joke and just leave. Because I have no interest in that stuff. But yeah,
it's a train wreck. It is one of those things that it is just absolute whatever the fuck. Let's watch the misery happen before us. It becomes a bit hard to turn away from when you get into it, but it's one of those things that you also realize this doesn't fucking matter. It's internet daytime TV, effectively.
Yeah, it was not just like these people need help. It's just they don't try to get help. They just do bullshit like that. So
they don't try to get help. They just eat more and do some drugs.
Yeah. They're nasty people. So.
But yeah, outside of that, work's been interesting. Like I said, I'll get a nice fat paycheck because I'll be getting something like 35 hours of OT.
That's a lot of OT.
Yeah. I did.
Time and a half. That's a lot of money.
Yep. Because the way that it works is I worked my normal schedule both weeks, but there was the holiday that landed on one of my normal work days. So I get time and a half for that entire shift. I get an additional 8 hours of standard pay. And then I worked over 24, 25, maybe even 26 hours of OT the rest of the time.
Nice.
So I get a fat paycheck that time. It'll be nice. Especially since, like I said, it lands right on my birthday.
Yeah, you go on vacation too, so that's good.
Yep. So I'll be going on vacation, and then the first Friday during my vacation, I'll get that nice fat paycheck, which just makes that all the better.
Nice. And
okay.
Cannibalistic. Favorite breed of dog. I would say German Shepherd, delicious.
I was about to say, are you grading them on the chance that you want to own them or on the chance that you want to eat them? Because those are two different numbers, I think.
A potato,
And I just heard Sora Luna pop into the back room, so let me pull her up front. Hey, Sora.
Don't let her in.
Oh.
Bit too late for that.
Sora. God damn it.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave.
No.
This is a really toxic environment.
How are you doing, Sora?
I took a 2.5-hour nap by accident, so I'm a little groggy. Excuse the lateness. I had to make a coffee.
Fair enough.
Oh, no.
But good, other than that.
Yep. always good when you're able to. Sorry, I'm quickly making a marinade, and of course, this thing decides to immediately fart the moment that I go to make a marinade. So that was the Kewpie mayo container, not myself, that produced that rather wet shotgun of a sound.
I thought
I didn't hear
was
anything.
I thought that was Sora stepping on everything.
I see how it goes. Okay.
It is what it is, girl. I haven't been on goddamn film forever, ever.
Mm-hmm. So how have you been, Sora? It's been a while for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
At least on one of my nights.
At least on a Friday. Yeah, I haven't been on a Friday in quite a while. Oh, it's good.
That's good to hear.
I can't really complain. It's nice to be back on a Friday, but then I just took the week off, so I'll be back at it on Monday.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I'm taking next week off for myself. Or
Very
rather,
nice.
I'm taking the week after next week by most people's reckoning, next week by my reckoning.
Gotcha.
Since next Friday is my birthday. So I'm going to be taking off the work week of my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be fucking off up to Canada for a little bit.
Hey! Don't get trampled by a moose.
No, Sora. He's gonna go up there and find you, and just give you like a double. Tim Horton with Timmy Bits. That's what he's gonna do.
Should that be the other way, as he'd be the guest in my country?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
What can I say? I'm a giver.
Apparently.
Because the blind girl, I know what the fuck a Timmy Bits and double is.
So, as of the last day or so, Timbit has also been. I didn't know this. It's the name of a harbor seal that they've just released back into the wild. So It depends on which kind of Timbit you mean.
I'm talking about
one is more filling than the other.
So, Sanguine,
the seal is more filling than the donuts, right? That's the way that we're going with that? Okay.
Yes.
So it they call the donut holes
Timbit.
as Timbits. I'm like, you fucking Canadian. Jesus goddamn it.
Yeah,
hey, said Edmonton.
Hey, Addie.
It's one of those things that Canadians, they have those weird traditions. Like they have what can only be described as a diabetes shack, the sugar shack in certain parts of Canada during winter.
Yeah, that's East Coast. It has to be, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but Canadians are fucking weird, especially French Canadians.
So do you know what the sugar shack is, Cryptic?
I do not. Enlighten me, sir.
It's a place where they get a massive amount of maple syrup. Then they reduce the ever-living fuck out of it. And you go in, and they have a trough full of snow that's in front of you. That you then pour this ridiculously thick, reduced maple syrup into the trough of snow, and you stick a stick in it, and you just eat the reduced maple syrup.
And they say American people fucking got diabetes quickly. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but see, it's maple syrup. It's only minimally refined, you know?
You're still diabetic because you can eat all that bullshit.
Well, you just have to, do your blood work first.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to eat a snow cone with goddamn syrup on it. But you know what? Before I do that, let me take my diabetic test. Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay. I have to say this. Speaking of snow cones, I've only ever had it once in my life, and it was from an ice cream van sort of thing. So I probably wasn't quite right. like what we consider like the American snow cone, not the Asian shaved ice. That's a little bit different. Like I've had
which
that. That's
is
its own
amazing.
special, wonderful
Mhm.
thing. But an actual snow cone with the syrup just put on top of it, right? But
Yep.
here, like West Coast version, which I know can't be the right taste. I was so disappointed. This was as a kid because when I hear something, oh, it's snow cone or what, because you put weird names to popsicles. So I was expecting
Mhm.
just a popsicle with this delicious lime flavoring, and it was literally crushed ice from the gas station with some diluted syrup.
Yep.
It's the
Yeah.
saddest thing I've ever eaten.
No. Okay, Sora. To be fair, okay, when I was a kid, it was delicious. You know why? Because it was like 75 cents, and we're like, oh,
Yep.
nice.
It's
And it's
cheap as shit.
cold and sweet. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that when you're a kid. Yeah. But I'd rather just upcharge the $2 and get a Slurpee,
Yeah, I was
Well,
about to say, if you want more flavor, then you go for the slushy.
look, I had food stamps, so what I got is what I got.
Very fair.
Because
Interesting. Why
slushies
did
are
we-
also fantastic.
It's
But-
like telling an Asian person, like, all right, you gonna get a hind quarter of a dog or like a breast of a dog? I'm kidding. I never had one. I'm kidding.
He hasn't gone for the breast of the dog, is what he's saying. The hind quarter he's had many times.
Mhm.
You just have one. The dog is fine.
It's
It's
just
a
not
dog.
a tripod.
It's a dog eat dog world. I mean, that was a bad joke. Sora's gonna kill me in. Sora's gonna kill me in
Do
3,
you
2,
feel
1.
a headache? Because I'm thinking of one.
No, I'm thinking of like a laser, like going through my brain right now, and it's your laser going. Bink.
See, the one thing that I'm picturing is now someone who lives near Cryptic is going, we do have a lot of tripod dogs in the neighborhood. Oh, God.
There's like a
Yeah,
whole
but-
rescue sanctuary somewhere out in the sticks.
It could be.
He
called,
gets creative sometimes and does the bipod where it's one front, one back because he takes the others.
You know what?
Oh.
It could be. My rescue can be called a tri-state rescue. You know.
Not to make the stream sad, but actually today I saw a husky being carried around like a duffel bag. Only had front paws,
Oh.
but he was good. He was fine. He was walking. Looked good.
Did he have the wheelchair, the doggy wheelchair?
Nope. The owner was carrying him like a duffel bag. He had like the harness on, and he was carrying him like he was taking him to work, and the dog was paddling along, keeping pace in front. It was both tragic and very cute at the same time. But he looked fine.
Yeah.
Other than that,
but-
under the fact he didn't have back legs.
But the thing is, though, so I was like, that dog's very lucky, you know, because the owner probably spent a lot of money on that dog because he loves that dog.
Oh yeah,
So,
100%. I have seen. I did see a few weeks back an off-road dog wheelchair. It was so cool. So it was the large tires, so it can go all terrain. It's really neat. Yeah, because
The
there's
big
a
fat
lot
tires, like a
of
mountain
forest
bike
paths
tire.
and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So you could take the dog. It was very cool. So yeah, no, I have all the respect for the people who have those dogs.
yeah.
It's not easy. Pardon me. It's quite difficult. But I looked at it. It was just like, it's tragic. But the dog it looked very happy. Chilling with the owner. The guy was strong. He can easily carry him. So hey, he's a little soul.
Yeah, it's one of those things that those little doggy wheelchairs in one way you're going, that's sad. In the other way you're going, that's adorable. Because the dogs are always fucking happy as all hell. So
Yeah,
you can't really be too sad about it, but at the same time, you're going, "Oh, poor puppy."
Well, yeah, because we think of it from our point of view, what the dog might be feeling, and you can't explain that. For me, that's why it's the saddest. It's like with little children that don't yet understand, like can't communicate with adults and animals. You can't explain to them what's happened, so that, you can't rationalize it for them. That's why it's sad for me. Yeah. Well,
yep. A lot of these dogs or cats are very lucky to have owners like what's willing to spend the time and money, because it's not cheap to take care of a disabled animal. So,
Mm-hmm.
of course.
I mean, I take care of a Pioneer Scotsman sometimes. He's a disabled animal. I'm sorry. Hey, Scotty. How you doing,
You
buddy?
didn't want to insult animals that way?
Yeah.
Is that why you were sorry?
But no, I'm kidding. Like literally, like some of these animals are like very, very lucky, to have people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me eat cats. Screw you, Scotty. Anyway, so how have you guys' week been?
Like I said, mine has been a lot of work, but I've had some fantastic dinners mixed in. So,
Right.
like last night, I was just telling Cryptic before the show about this. I had Szechuan red snapper.
Oh,
So, got a
nice.
red snapper. Unfortunately, I didn't realize when I bought the red snapper, it hadn't been descaled yet. So then I had to descale the red snapper, which, when you don't have the descaling tool that keeps the scales all nice and neat in a area where you don't have to worry about them, it is a fucking mess and a half.
Yeah, my dad used to do that. We didn't have anything special. He just took a knife.
Yep, just
Yeah,
take a knife,
take a
run
knife.
it
Went to town.
perpendicular.
Yeah. I remember the cleanup. It's not pleasant.
Oh yeah, it
No.
just sprays the scales fucking everywhere. So I'm just sitting at my desk, scraping the scales. They're flying off. They're hitting me in the face. They're hitting my computer screen. They're going all over the fucking place. But I get it completely descaled, at least to the point where I need it descaled to. I didn't fuck with taking it off all of the head because most of the head you don't eat. You can eat the cheek, but you can't eat much more than that.
Yeah.
Sanguine.
Yep.
You should keep the head.
Soup stock.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Freeze it. What you do is you freeze it, right? And then by the time you get when you want to make the soup stock, it makes for a good what's called Tunskatsky shit, like I said it right. Ramen, right?
Yep.
You can make the stock out of it. Just make sure you have enough head bone to make that broth. So what I do is I when I when I make the fish or cook a fish, I put the head in the freezer, and then when I need to make the base for ramen, I use that instead of like dry anchovies. So
yeah, you can.
I mean,
get a few fish heads because you can freeze them and keep them for a good deal longer. And then after that, yeah, you can make a big pot of a really good fucking fish stock with that.
Yep. And
just like I do with chicken bones. Every time that I get a full chicken, I'll freeze the carcass and then I'll get like 6-7 carcasses in my refrigerator, or in my freezer rather. I'll pull them all out. I'll roast them up with some mushroom stalks and then boil that, or not boil, but simmer that for like 2-3 days. Get a really deep flavored stock with that ridiculous just collagen overload in the stock. It's fantastic.
Yeah. if you keep a lot of your trimmings and stuff like that, right? When you trim or cook certain food, right? You generally have enough bone or like leftover meat to make a lot of stuff. Like if you trim, let's say a brisket, right?
Mm.
If you keep the fat from that, you freeze it, and then you cook a couple more times like that. You can take at the end, you can take that meat and you can put it together to make a hamburger meat. That's delicious hamburger meat, right?
Yeah, grind that in with some overly lean meat.
Yeah.
And oh, good God, it's fantastic.
Exactly. And then that's just like the trim from that. And like when you break down a chicken, right? If you take the bones that are left over, right, you can make that into chicken stock, easy, cheap. You don't have to pay for it. And then if you pork, like you can take that and you leave the bone over, you can make like soup broth out of it, like a tonkatsu, ramen broth, or shoyu broth, or whatever you want to make, right?
Yeah, you can make a really good broth for that chashu ramen.
Yes, and you just gotta, you just gotta keep it in your freezer, and you don't even. It doesn't have to be fresh. All you have to do is just, when you butcher whatever animal you're cooking, you keep the leftovers. That's how you save money, and it's also how you make good broth out of it.
Yep, and then all you do is you throw that in a 350, 400 degree oven for a little bit, just to roast the bones, and then take that, throw that in a pot of water, bring the pot of water up to the boil, then you dump that first pot of water, fill the pot back up with cool water, bring it back up to the boil, reduce it down to a simmer, let it simmer for a few days, and just skim the top of anything that rises up, and you get this beautiful, beautiful fucking broth.
It's a clear broth with the flavor in it.
Consommé.
Yep. Yes.
It's amazing.
And for that, you'll have to not just do what I said, but then you'll have to clarify the broth. So you run it through some cheesecloths, and for consommé, the way that it's typically clarified is with egg.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yep. You crack an egg and you mix it in, or you have to distribute it properly as you put the egg in so that it gets kind of everywhere. Then you mix it in real quick. And then the egg will settle out as it cooks off fairly quick, but it'll grab up all the little bits of other stuff floating in your broth and clarify it. Then you run it through a cheesecloth again, and you have this lovely clear broth.
Have you guys ever used kombu?
Yes, many times.
Yeah. So to make a good ramen, you have to have kombu, right?
Yep.
It's a fact. You don't have kombu, you're not making real ramen, right?
What is it?
And
kombu is a specific type of seaweed. So nori, of course, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So you have nori, which is very thin and kind of brittle. But then you wet it slightly and it becomes fairly flexible, so you're able to roll seaweed or roll sushi in it and use it as the wrapping for a bit of onigiri. Kombu is much thicker.
Oh yes,
And
I've had it. I've never seen it to buy, but I see what you mean. Yeah, I've just looked it up. I've seen it.
Yep.
I've had it in soups.
Yeah.
It's thicker, kind of leathery. It does soften as you cook it, but even then, you'll only have a couple squares of it. You won't ever have just like, here's your
I never knew what it was called.
Entire fucking sheets of kombu, because a sheet of kombu will be like 2.5, 3 feet long almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Sora, you know the common seed with those thick, big ass plant. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what kombu is made out of.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's those big seaweeds that like get
Like,
stuck in propellers and stuff.
yeah, the actual like the things you throw at each other on
Yeah,
when you're at
yeah.
the beach because it's gross.
When you're at the beach, yeah, those are
Yeah.
kombu. Yeah, so those is actually if you when they get dried out, right? They
Yep.
you sell that stuff. It gets concentrated, and then when you want to make like ramen broth, right? It is a very very what you call that
It's a crucial flavor.
crucial. Yeah, there you go. Crucial component in making dashi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you go to a restaurant, like they're selling ramen, and they're like, "What kind of kombu, you know, did they use?" And they don't tell you like, what's kombu. You're like, no, you walk right the fuck out.
Yeah, you need to get, in order to have a proper dashi for ramen, the most common sorts are you do the kombu and bonito flake.
Mm-hmm. But bonito flakes is dried, basically. Is it shrimp? Is that a shrimp or fish? Shrimp.
Like
It
smelt?
is
One of those
fish.
smelt herring.
Fish,
It
yeah.
is a fish that is smoked and then dried.
Yep.
And then they shave it really thin. It has this intensely umami flavor to it. You can get it pre-shaved in most areas in the United States. If you want the absolute best bonito flake, though, you get just the unshaved bonito, and then you have to get one of the bonito shavers, which kind of looks like a wood plane, only you hold it the other way around. So wood plane, you hold the blade side down, and you run that across the wood. This, you hold the blade side up. Then you get a hand guard so that you don't fucking shave your own goddamn hand. And you grab the bonito and you do passes along the blade, just shaving off wafer thin bits of bonito.
Yep. And then when you want to make the stock, you use the bonitos with the kombu, and that's what gives it the salty, umami flavor. So
the way that you do it is you make the kombu portion of the dashi first, which you take your kombu. You don't want to brush it because when you get kombu, it will often have kind of a whitish looking powder almost on the surface of it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get rid of that because that's actually some of the flavor compounds that, as it was drying, ended up crystallizing on the surface. So you leave that shit there. Then you stick that in water, you let it soak for a while, just in room temperature water or cool water. Then you bring it up to the boil. Then the moment that hits the boil, you turn down the heat way the fuck down. You let it come down from the boil, and you hold it at like a low simmer for, I think it's about 15 minutes, if that. Then you kill it entirely. You drain it, get the kombu out, reserve the liquid that you just drained. You now have kombu broth. Then you take that and you put that back on the hob, and you add a good-sized fistful of bonito flake. Then you bring it back up to the boil to get the kombu and bonito, and then that one you're able to simmer for a bit longer. Then you take it off the heat. There's another way where you make the two broths separate, and then you just add them together after. But the way that I tend to do it is you make a combo broth.
yeah, so the way you the two sauce, right? It's very common in like tonkatsu ramen. So they have like one. They have the more rich sauce at the bottom. Like, but generally it's like a
The tare.
the tare. Yeah, it's more like a half portion of that, and then a full portion of the stock.
Yeah,
And
so the
the
tare
ramen.
is certain flavored oils, a strongly flavored elements. So that's where you'll have like the shoyu and shoyu ramen will be in
Yes.
the tare, and then all the other kind of dense flavors go in the very bottom, and you mix them together first. So you get those set up, you put them in the bottom of the bowl, then you add in the broth on top.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then you put the noodles in, the ramen in. Then you put the pork. And then on top of that, you put the egg, you put the nori, you put whatever seasoning, different depending on the ramen restaurant you're in,
You'll
different
put like
toppings.
Naruto and green
Yeah.
onion and
I like the green onions. I like the pickled bamboo shoots. That's what I like. And then on top of that, you put like I like my eggs to be kind of. So I do this for 6 minutes instead of like the typical 9. So the interior is
you
a
want
little
it
bit more runny.
really runny. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when they mix with the broth, it actually makes it a little bit better. And the ramen on top of that, I like pepper flakes. People don't. It's not as traditional for most places, but it's delicious that way for me. So
I'm a big fan of adding some chili oil on top of the ramen. Just adds that nice little kick that goes so wonderfully with the rest of it.
Yep.
And yeah, you can get all kinds of different toppings. For me, the one that is kind of, if it's there, I'll eat it. But if it's missing, then it's not like I'm going to be going, well, this isn't ramen, is the Naruto.
Yeah.
The Naruto, it's take it or leave it. I don't give a shit.
So what I like to put on mine is a little bit of more Chinese flavor. Is the crispy, well, Chinese Vietnamese flavor is more like the crispy fried onions on top of it. It's actually quite good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the way it's done, Sora, is like they slice the onions right as thin as possible, and then they dry it, and then they kind of like cook it in chili oil.
And isn't it normally very slightly potato starched?
Yes, but it's like it's very good. Like it's good on almost anything. I put on like ramen. I put like ramen noodle, like regular ramen noodle. But on like real ramen, it actually has really good flavor. Yeah, it takes a little work to do it, but I mean, it's delicious,
Oh yeah.
I put on everything. I put on fried egg. Like if you do like if you cook like an egg over easy, right? Just normal.
Yeah.
Salt, pepper over easy, right? You put a little
Yeah.
bit of that fried onion or the fried onion on it. It's fucking delicious.
It's fried onion.
Exactly.
Put it on anything.
Adds that nice element to it.
That's literally my favorite food.
I also like including that fried garlic that you do in a very similar way.
Yes.
You get that crispy shard of garlic in with the meat and the noodles and the ridiculous broth, and it's just heaven. I still laugh at the fact that when I was in Japan, I ended up ordering a size of ramen that wasn't on the menu. And I don't know how I did it. The person who spoke Japanese and could read Japanese had no fucking clue how I did it.
Were you attempting to speak?
No, that was the most confusing part, because then there would be something that they would be able to go, okay, maybe it was this. No, it was one of those push button ordering systems.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there was one person in the group that I went with who knew how to speak and read Japanese. They were like 90-something% fluent. Not quite entirely, but well past conversational.
Yeah.
And they were completely fluent when it came to reading. So they were the ones who was helping everyone else place their orders. So we queued up, and that person was up at the front. They punched in their order, and then they would ask each of our group what they wanted, and then they would punch in that person's order.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened and saw which buttons were being pressed enough to know, oh, it's this one for pork, and this one for seafood. And then this one was the beer button. Those were the 3 buttons that I figured out what they were. So
3 most important buttons.
I was the last person in the queue, and I get to the front, and they start asking, what do you want? I hit 6 buttons. I hit the pork button,
Mm-hmm.
I hit the beer button, and I hit 4 additional buttons.
They were like, okay, fates will decide my toppings.
Because I decided I'm game for a mystery. All the food here looks amazing. I don't really care what I get. It'll taste good. So that's what I did in order to order my food. And they were going, do you even know what you ordered? No. Okay. And they looked at the buttons that I had hit, and they went, okay, I think I know what you're getting. So we go in, and the food starts coming out shortly after. And the first thing that comes out is apparently I ordered dumplings. So I get a nice serving of dumplings. Hell yeah. I enjoy the dumplings. I share the dumplings with the people that I'm with as well, and we enjoy them. They're fantastic. Then everyone else's bowls of ramen start coming out. And one person had requested a small bowl of ramen, and it's like a standard cereal bowl size bowl comes out, set in front of them. Then most of the people ordered a regular, which is, let's see. Have you seen the deep, wide, like, pasta bowls?
Yes.
It's like one of those comes out. Or if you are familiar with ramen restaurants, think of a standard ramen restaurant
Ramen bowl. Yeah.
And it's one of those. Then I get a plate of fried rice, and I get my bowl of ramen. And I get a plate of additional meat for my bowl of ramen. So my bowl of ramen is about 2.5 times the size of the regular bowl.
Size.
There was no family order on that machine. According to the person who, again, fluent in Japanese, they were looking at the buttons, and the buttons had regular and small as the 2 listed sizes.
I wonder if was there anybody working there who was assisting, like at the front, or was it just automated until you order, like up to the ordering part?
So there was someone who was just there kind of saying hello to everyone and pointing them to the push button. And they were also the person that would be the server throughout most of it. if it wasn't something that was just being handed straight over the counter, they were the ones going into the back, bringing out drinks, shit like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I somehow found the hidden button combo for the give me the enormous bowl of ramen.
Like
Please
I'm
and
hungry,
thank
feed
you.
me.
And then, like I said, I got the additional plate of meat for the ramen. I got dumplings, and I got a plate of fried rice, and I got my beer and my enormous bowl of ramen. So,
Well,
part of my button combo was enormous bowl of ramen, which was not a listed feature on the board.
it's a good surprise.
Oh yeah, I was like a pig in shit when I got that bowl of ramen. It was amazing. And my friends tucked into theirs, I tucked into mine, and it was so damn good and just ridiculous that I ended up finishing my bowl of ramen before like 3 of the people finished their bowls of ramen. It was just so damn good. Yeah, somehow I hit the American size. There was no American size on that board. Somehow I hit the American size. And it was fantastic. It still makes me laugh, though. Just hitting 6 buttons at random. There's no large size on the board. Get a large bowl. Especially since one of the reasons why they knew that there was no large size was one of the people in front of me, who also liked to eat, said that he wanted to get a large bowl. And they went, well, there's a regular size and there's a small size. There's no large size? No, there's a regular and there's a small. Okay, I'll go for the regular. And he was just like, how the fuck did you get that bowl? I don't know. I hit 6 buttons. I got big bowl.
It's like that combo in video games.
Yeah.
You unlock the secret level.
Yeah. I just Konami coded this fucking bowl of ramen into existence. And it was fantastic.
And the other guy's like, screw you. I'm hungry too.
He found it hilarious as well. It was fantastic. Especially since I was sharing dumplings and fried rice with people if they wanted it. And the fried rice was fantastic. The dumplings were amazing. The bowl of ramen. Oh, good God. It was one of the best meals I had in Japan. And that's saying something because I ate a lot of really fucking amazing food in Japan.
Yeah. Every time I see like I'll like look at like travel logs or anything. Oh, speaking of Japan, I keep forgetting to introduce you to this channel. So, you know how things are just recommended to you?
Yep.
Like I have no idea. I probably watched something like Travel in Japan. That's what pinged the algorithm. But it's called her channel's called Nami's Life or Nami something like this, and it's this a woman. She lives on her own in Japan. She's just like an office worker. She doesn't show her face or anything. It's unbelievably relaxing the way she films everything. But it's usually it's a vlog. Is just her routine in a day or a week or a weekend or whatever. It's just very very thing. But what's cool about it is she actually the majority of her videos are her cooking. So she will put up and she auto generates English captions. So if you have your closed captioning on, she has them generated so that it will be in English. And it's just there's a lot of delicious food she makes, and it's just fascinating to see what she eats and how she cooks. But it just kept reminding me of you just because of the food, like, oh hey, here's somebody like tried this style. Let me.
I just pulled up the
It's
channel and I just subscribed to it.
It's the first one is the night routine. Enjoy myself until sleeping. Whatever. From 6 days
with
ago. That's what.
the one that's right up above that is the meals for Japanese living alone, cooking and eating a heavy meal after a vaccine.
Yeah,
Bread,
that's the one from like a
moose,
year ago.
raw.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's if anything, her videos are so relaxing. It's very comfortable watching. There's no talking in them unless it's ambient from wherever she may be vlogging. It's really nice. And I like her aesthetic, but it's the food that is so nice. And she'll sometimes take you along if she goes to a cafe or something and shows the food, and it's very good. I will link it if anybody's in. Oh, you linked it.
I just tossed it in.
Yeah. Thank you. If anyone's interested, it's just very relaxing. So if you're having like a long day, pop her stuff on, and I like I guess it's a type of ASMR, but it's not deliberate ASMR. Like it's someone actually doing things, but it's quiet, so the microphone.
Oh,
just
the
picks up your
situational
regular.
ASMR.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's what it is, because it's just I find it very relaxing.
Yeah, I found there's apparently a channel that just does accidental ASMR that I ended up finding randomly because it was suggested to me. And the video that I saw was a Welsh stone carver just talking about stone carving as he's doing his work. So you're just hearing this like ting 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 ting, as it's just this Welshman talking about, oh yes, I carve my dragons this way. I think that they look far more ferocious, and I've always been just this is where I'll be getting in a bit of trouble with my fellow countrymen, but I've always felt like the Welsh dragon is just a little bit leaves something to be desired. So this is how I draw my dragon. It looks far more ferocious and fantastic, and it really meets the reason why we have the dragon, because the dragon is meant to be this protector of our country, and our dragon, he doesn't look like he can protect anything, but this dragon you don't want to fuck with. And it's just this old stone carver talking about this type of stuff and his process for how he carved things and how he trains his students as he's just tapping away at what he's carving. It was ridiculously relaxing.
He has a BBC video, ASMR, Welsh stone carvers, unintentional YouTube star.
That's it. Yep.
Okay, I will pop this one in, and then because people can find it from there, his actual videos.
Yep.
But this is the BBC, the quick BBC blurb on him.
And the other channel that when you were explaining the Nami's room, or Nami's life rather, that popped into my mind that is in a very similar vein. Have you seen Imamu's room?
No, at least not by name.
So a lot of people end up calling it Imamu's Bento, or Imamu's Bento, but it's actually Imamu's room. And it's just this Japanese housewife that makes bento boxes for her husband. And she records the bento boxes that she makes every week. So each video is her husband's week's worth of bento boxes.
Yeah, no, I've never seen her. I've seen other kind of similar, like in the shorts section, but no, I have not seen this one. Oh, that looks good food.
Oh yeah,
just looking at the thumbnails, you're like,
It looks absolutely delicious, and it's one of those channels that I'll watch just because it's really relaxing. There's hardly anything ever really said in the videos. It's normally just subtitles pop up, and it's fantastic. The food looks amazing. So again, it's that kind of situational ASMR sort of feel. And it just looks fantastic. She explains how she makes everything that she does, why she's doing what she's doing at every point in the process. And it's one of those things that, yeah, it's very easy to go, that looks really good. And then either just follow the recipe that she puts out or know why she's doing each step of her recipe. So you're able to then go, okay, I'll change it here, here, and here because that's how it will work better for me. So it's just one of those channels that, like I said, it is that inadvertent ASMR, and it is delicious, delicious food.
May I make another suggestion if you want to do that, go that route?
Absolutely.
This guy right here, he is Nino. He makes desserts and food too. He doesn't speak much, but at the end, he always has his 2 cats. And it's cute, but the food is actually quite good.
I was really expecting you to say he has his 2 cats, and it really whets your appetite.
You know, it's a little bit
on the
too
nose.
much on the nose. Yeah. But this guy, he's actually, his food is actually quite good. Yeah.
My God.
Very nice.
Chocolate milk jelly thing. Holy crap. That is criminal. I want it.
He's more into the dessert side of things, but
where the heck do you get agar powder?
I'd
have to go. I'd have to go to the cooking warehouse or something like that. Ugh. Or internet.
Well, you can get it from the internet. You can get it from certain grocery stores, or if you have a specialty kitchen place.
Yeah, here you'd have
kitchen plate will almost always have something like that.
Sora, I found your favorite video from this guy.
Okay.
But anyway, no, like I do watch the same like these cooking videos. They're pretty good. So
somehow Sora's okay was both worried and breathy. That was a strange combination, Sora. I have the perfect video for you.
Okay. Why is that avocado so long?
Don't worry about it. Just watch the video later.
I'm hoping that this video was sent on.
It's in the YouTube
Otherwise,
chat.
Okay.
It's in the YouTube chat. It's actually there. It looks delicious. It's avocado steamed buns, but I've never seen avocado that looks like that. I am interested.
Just making sure, because why is that avocado so long? If it's on a different site, it could be for an entirely different reason.
It's Sora. She likes her avocado very long. Right, Sora?
I'm finding things about myself today. Thanks, Cynic.
Oh, we're stretching this joke.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I mean,
Assassin. Okay, do you remember? Do you remember if it was overly ripe or not? Because the thing is, the problem with avocado is everybody has deemed it god tier, which is not necessarily true, but it is a delicious whatever it is. I don't know if it's a fruit.
It's a fruit.
Would it be considered a fruit?
Yeah, it's a fruit.
It's a
stone fruit.
Yeah, stone fruit. But because you can make it delicious. Like don't get me wrong. I appreciate guacamole. I've got to the point where I can't stand it. So I've used to eat it, but not anymore. I can't. I've tried making it myself. I just don't like it. So what? But I
Just
love just.
overplayed.
I guess so. Um, I like my avocado toast, but the problem is here they're so expensive, right? So when you want to have avocados, it's like you're gonna eat it for the next 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I damn sure want avocado. Like I'm craving it. So like every 6 months maybe or so, I'm like, you know what? I could go for an avocado tomorrow for breakfast, and then I'll go and buy it because they're expensive. So be like,
Mhm.
okay, I'll buy one or two and eat for a couple of days, and that's it. But
Fair enough.
yeah,
Like
just
avocado,
testicle.
avocado where I'm at is like $1. Well, it used to be $1 under a dollar, right? Now it's
Mhm.
$1.50 because of fucking inflation.
Hmm.
But I mean, I can get like 5 avocado for like still under $10. But yeah, you're right.
I have a feeling that avocado kind of underwent a lot of the same shit that a lot of food that we used to think of as kind of the peasant food, the low class food went through, where
Yeah.
Mhm.
it was cheap, people started getting it, they made it trendy, and then the price fucking skyrockets.
You want to know what a useless facts about avocado?
Go for it.
Please.
It's actually just one fucking species of avocado that's actually producing the one that we could eat. So
Mhm.
like there's one genetic family, like literally it's just a clone, just like bananas.
Mhm.
So if a disease ever come around that targets that particular avocado, we're fucked. We're gonna start from scratch and basically
Propagate.
what-
Reselect for the
reselect.
positive
Yeah,
characteristics.
yep, from the original avocado because the original avocado still exists. It's a
Small and
gigantic seed.
unappealing. Yeah.
No, it's just a gigantic seed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's small meat to seed.
Yeah.
So you could use it, but it just is in fucking efficient because you're having to get like 6 of those in order to get the meat of one of the current variety.
Yeah, and it would probably take us like a couple decades to get it like a new strand that would um allow us to have like meaningful meat. Oh well,
Mhm.
meaningful fruit, I guess. Um, but yeah, like just
Of
like
a
bananas, like
similar amount of flesh.
yes, flesh. There you go. Yeah, it's right now the banana and the avocado are the two um most
Endangered, I
common.
guess.
What's the most common fruit that has the
That are functionally clonal species, not colonial, clonal.
right?
Mm.
And if anything, if anything would come arise that attack those plants and that particular family, we're fucked. We just start over. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll
because
we'll, we'll we'll start. We have to start from plantain with bananas. So
yep, you'd have to start with plantains effectively, or rather, we have a shit ton of different varieties of bananas. Just
right.
we have one that is the most popular currently. So that's the one that we sell as bananas.
Right.
Then when that one dies, we have one in reserve that doesn't quite have the same profile that we like of the current banana
Hmm.
that we're able to swap to. So it won't be as much what people like of current bananas, but it's the closest that we have to current bananas.
Yep.
And we've already had to do that like 4 times since the 20s.
It's sad that we have to. Well, that's not sad, but well, it is kind of sad that we literally have one genetic line of bananas and one genetic line of avocado that we can't fuck with, and And if that's happened, we're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how fragile it is with a food supply chain. So
And then we do interesting chimeric shit with other things. Like, have you guys heard of the tree of 40 fruits?
Oh God, no. That sounds scary.
Have you heard of the tree of 40 fruits?
Uh-oh.
Cryptic.
I do not. Please enlighten me, sir.
So the tree of 40 fruits is the result of splicing trees together.
Okay.
And the trees produce a ridiculous number of different fruits. Here, let me pull up all the different things that a tree of 40 fruits can produce, because that is underselling. And it is tree of 40 fruits. There we go. Pull that up. So the tree of 40 fruits, pull this up so I can see all the different things. And can I get this so that it's actually fucking legible? That does not look like it's going to be legible. Let me try to find a different depiction of the tree of 40 fruits so that
While
I
you do
can
that,
show you guys all of that.
Cynic asks, Avo Konana when? Avo Konana when? That sounds like a white girl poolside drink
Yes, it does.
with a
So
little umbrella.
A wimowa.
I would drink it.
A wimowa. In the
So-
cynic, the mighty cynic. I'm sorry.
this will give you an image. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a good breakdown of all the trees within this tree, but that allows you to see what I'm talking about. So
Yes.
the tree of 40 fruits is a, like I said, spliced hybridized tree. And it grows more than 40 varieties of stone fruit, including a shit ton of heirloom, antique, and native varieties. And let's see, where's a listing of some of the fruits that are included in this? Come on, where are they?
So, according to Wikipedia,
Yep.
the tree of 40 fruit is one of a series of fruit trees that was created by Syracuse University professor, who's a contemporary artist.
Sam Vanaken, yeah.
So it's like this. Oh, this is a contemporary art piece.
Yep.
Oh my god!
It is one of the most
Through grafting.
pretentious bits of bullshit, but
I
It's-
know.
also kind of fucking cool that it worked, because it does ridiculous shit. Like, it has plums,
Holy shit.
peaches,
Um,
almonds.
here I'll link this photo in the private chat so you can bring it up from the Wikipedia. It's basically it's a photo of.
That's the one that I was trying to get to show in a legible fashion. Oh no, that's the one
That's
of
the
the
fruit.
different fruits. Okay.
Yeah, that's the fruit. So you can show people like this came from one tree in a week in August 2011, just so people can see the different. So what you have there, they're basically beyond what they're all looking like various types of plums, because the little ones aren't necessarily cherries; they look like plum berries, like the really tiny ones, and they're just like different species of plum. I mean, I would eat them. I love plums.
So before I pop over to that, so everywhere that you see a different color on the tree that's currently being displayed is a section that grows a different type of fruit. Each color is a different section of fruit growth. It is the weirdest shit. So that's that. Then let me pull this down and share the one that you showed of this. So yeah, it has a bunch of different plums, and I think a few peaches are in there.
This is on one of the trees. It looks like he may have various different trees with maybe different
Varieties.
varieties of
This is
fruits
the
depending on the
tree of
project.
40 plums.
Yeah.
This is fake news. There's no way a tree exists.
Oh no, there's a bunch of them.
Yes, he has a series of them. Yeah.
There's a bunch of them, and
I mean, they're grafted, right? So that's how
Yep.
people used to crossbreed and do all the. They probably still do, mind you. That's your GMO.
yeah, it's a bunch of
Technically.
trees that were spliced together so that they could continue growing.
And I mean,
can't
I
remember-
suppose that if you have something that's similar enough so that it doesn't cannibalize each other, right?
Yep.
So it'd be like putting different apple styles together, right? You'll grow an apple tree with various. I wonder how long that'll last for, because what happens with the cross pollination eventually? If you have the
Well-
male and the female trees, does he craft, like, how does he?
Well, you wouldn't be able to breed different fruits like that. So
Yeah.
every tree has to be made by grafting.
Yeah.
And then each of those trees can produce fully functional fruit that you can take the seeds out and grow a tree of that type. It's not all. Those seeds won't produce a shit ton more of trees of 40 fruits. But here, let me show this. I wasn't able to find a version that's actually legible, but that's partially just because dude's handwriting is shit. But this is a sketch of the idea.
Mhm.
And it's different branches of different fruits grafted on to the tree body. And
It's very
each-
cool idea.
Yep. And the idea that he had behind it is, rather than planting boring trees in cities, why not plant this shit?
Because it has different flowers, you know?
It has different
Every
flowers.
branch is different.
It's pretty as all hell. And then not only is it pretty as all hell, but it produces a shit ton of different fruits. So it has multifunction.
Hmm.
Which, cool idea. Fuck it. Yeah, why not? Especially since this is something that is going against the normal trend of let's make cities uglier and uglier as time goes on. This is, no, let's make something pretty. Let's make something pretty and cool and put it in a city. Fuck it. The only problem that I see is that someone will kill the tree. Someone will knowingly kill this tree in a city.
Of course.
Because that's what cities are like. Like
Yeah.
the hitchhiking bot. You guys remember the hitchhiker bot, right?
That's sad.
So for those who don't know about the hitchhiker bot was from, what, the early 2000s? I want to say it was early, maybe mid 2000s. Let me quickly double check when it was.
Yeah.
Let me quickly stop sharing this. And Hitchhiker.
It's always you guys who screw things up. Thanks, America.
So the Hitchhiker
That's
bomb.
where it died. It died in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it died in Philly, which is the
It
most Philly
successfully
thing.
hitchhiked across Canada, its home country,
So-
Germany and the Netherlands. They sent it into across the U.S. and it got decapitated in Philly.
Yeah, so it was
Oh,
in 2015 that this story came out,
yeah.
where there's this little robot that they made where it was trying to get from one area to another. So from one part of Canada to another part of Canada was the first run. And the thing was that they would set it up. It had a display saying where it wanted to go. And it had something that effectively would say, you don't have to take me the entire way. Take me as far as you want to take me. And then just drop me off. And I'll see if someone else can get me.
It's so cute.
So it succeeded in its Canadian trip. Went from one side of Canada, I can't remember whether it was from west to east or east to west, but went from one side of Canada to the other. And then ended up going to the Netherlands, went to Germany, and again, each of those, it did a cross country. And then there was the American experiment. And in the American experiment, it made it a decent bit. It made it 300 something miles. But it hit Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Philly,
They stripped
it was stabbed, shot, beaten with a shovel, beheaded, beaten with a baseball bat, lit on fire, pissed out, if I remember correctly. They just
Well, so
fucked up
according
Hitchbot.
the purpose of the experiment was the idea of whether robots can trust humans. So we know the reason of the robot uprising. It's gonna start in Philly now.
Yep.
So thanks, neighbor. we know
It
where
became a
the
war
hate's
cry
gonna
of
come from.
Texas. It became a war cry of Texas. Remember the Alamo? It's going to become a war cry of the robot uprising. Remember Hitchbot?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Just when you hear that, it's like there's so little. I have so much, my dwindling faith in humanity is so small, Every year it gets smaller and smaller.
Like I said, it was just the ridiculous amount of savagery. Because it wasn't just
Yeah,
that they...
because it's assholes are. Well, it's not even an asshole. That goes beyond that. That's just.
It was a
Played
group of monsters, effectively.
Yeah.
Because
What
let's
can
see
you
if I
do?
can find something that gives the entire outline of everything that happened to Hitchbot. Because it was... Oh, yeah. So, one of the things was when Hitchbot was destroyed, there was a picture sent to the creators asking, can you make a new one? Can you repair what we currently have? And the response from the creators was, they sent us images and it's really beyond repair. There is not a single wire inside and all the things are broken. Also, its head was never found.
Isn't that sad? I find that very sad.
Yeah, like I said, it was stabbed, it was shot, it was beaten with bats, with shovels, it was decapitated. And then it was left on the side of a street like it was a fucking murder
Hey now, assassin. We are not going to stereotype. For all we know, it was some biker grannies who are tough chicks. Okay, we don't know. We don't say things that can get this channel demonetized.
Yes, do not get us bopped.
We're not even demonetized. I don't know why I said that. It's worse. Cancelled. Because it's not even monetized. But you know. Struck.
But let's see. Can I find the entire...
And he was such a
list?
sweet little guy. Looks like a robot from like the 50s TV sci-fis, you know? Or like Forbidden
it was-
Planet or something.
It was a just cute 90s robot child show robot. And of course,
I love some of the news articles. Beloved Hitchbot destroyed in Philadelphia. Hitchbot's U.S. tour ends with vandalization in Philly. Nightly news. What? What is Hitchbot and why was it murdered?
The funniest thing is that it started on the East Coast. It didn't make it out of the East Coast. It made it 300 miles, then got murdered in Philly.
Hitchbot, hitchhiking robot meets demise in Philadelphia after 2 weeks.
Yep.
Oh, we're all sad.
Let's see. Why is no one detailing all the injuries? I want to know all the shit that happened to Hitchbot. They're just mentioning that it was decapitated and found headless in the street. There was more to it than that. I remember a good chunk of them. I don't remember all of them. It was a rather long fucking list.
Oh, so the creator sent an image of the vandalized robot, but could not track its location, according to the Associated Press. So this was at the time. Sometimes bad things happen to good robots, the statement said. That is so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Oh, because it's child size, you know, and it's wearing little welling boots and oh.
Yep. Little Wellingtons and Hitchbot autopsy. Come on, where's a Hitchbot autopsy?
Oh my god, Deutsche Welle ran an article on the science page. So that's DW. It's a German World magazine. We know who killed Hitchbot, the world's most beloved hitchhiking robot. Ready? The CIA.
The fuck?
What? The only possible explanation. Thanks to some tireless internet investigators, security footage emerged yesterday. So this was yesterday back then, right? A few years back. Of a man in Philadelphia's Eagles jersey kicking and beating the little robot on a sidewalk somewhere in the city of supposedly brotherly love.
So I found more of the shit that was done to it.
Yes.
Because it was beaten with a blunt object. I think that was the baseball bat. Stabbed, shot at with paintball guns, stabbed again, beaten again, and decapitated.
And the head was never recovered.
Yep.
So sad.
Which leads to a question that I don't think anyone wants to ever ask, but I will because fuck it. What are they using the head for now?
They'd probably like put it, you know how you stuff a head of a kill and you mount it on the wall? It's probably what they did.
It's just a
trophy. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, it was just one of those things from ages ago that, what the fuck? The injuries are purely speculation. Nice.
This is why the world can't have nice things.
And I'm being accused of crossing a line multiple times. Which line am I crossing?
I think when you use a certain profane phrase.
Which one? I use so many.
Something with mincing.
Oh, yes, the mincing hungry pedophiles. Only using the other phrasing of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I stand by everything that I said, especially with those. But yeah. It was just absolutely ridiculous. And what the fuck?
It's I have this thing because I like these little. I've always, since I was a kid, I loved little robots and stuff. And I can't remember. Do you remember the military? I think in the States were making this. It was like that dog robot. The idea is that
Oh,
it
yeah,
was able to go on all terrain and everything and
the
carry.
Boston Dynamics dog.
Yeah, Boston Dynamics. That's it. And part of testing it was people beating the shit out of it, like kicking it really, really hard, so that they
Yep.
can like knock it down, because that's sort of what they would expect if bad person or any person would come across it. That would be what they'll try to do. And just looking at it is heartbreaking. Like, stop hurting him. Stop kicking him. And then I remember at the time all these memes coming up of like, well, we are watching the birth of Skynet.
Yep.
Because the way they're beating up that poor dog, the robot dog.
And I think it was at the same time that the joke video came out of Boston Dynamics making another robot that's shaped like a person. And they have all the same sorts of tests. So it picks up a box, they slap it out of its hands.
Mm-hmm.
They hitting it with the foam batons and those massive Q-tip looking things. Just smacking it around, pushing it, shoving it, knocking it over, smacking everything out of its hands. And at the very end of the video, because every time the robot just kind of looks down like it's completely dejected. And at the very end of the video, the robot picks up a gun. It just cuts to black.
Oh, God.
The first robo school shooter.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, and speaking of horrific events, there was that attack up in Canada earlier in the week. Last week, was it?
The stabber?
Yes.
Oh, it's okay. They're all dead.
15-person stabbing.
The suspects are dead. It's okay. It's better this way because we do catch and release here, so.
Yep, that sadly is becoming the trend in a large number of places. And it never works. And people keep on acting surprised when it doesn't work.
It'd be interesting if any more. I don't know if I honestly, I know it's going to sound horrible, but the moment when I'm like, oh, they're both dead, okay, that's fine. Okay, I wish those who are in hospital and not dead to recover as best as possible and get the psychological help that unfortunately we don't really get here, but hopefully at least someone gives them victim services. But it's no great loss, and I know that's a dark way to think about it, but it's got to that point here when I hear like, oh yeah, they didn't make it. It's because here they get out. They
Yep.
serve, being that it's like, they serve the time. We deal almost monthly with someone, which they even say, the police put out a statement saying high risk to reoffend, but they serve their 10 years and that's it. They're out.
Yep.
There's no, okay, you have a minimum of 10 years and then we'll reevaluate you. If you're high risk to reoffend, you do not get released. No, you're like, oh yeah, okay, bye-bye, back on the street. You just have to come see your probation officer or the group home that you're assigned to. You have to make sure you check in every day. And what happens, depending on the person, by 2-3 days later, they're gone.
Yep.
By the time they announce it to everybody, who knows where they are? It's, they get away fast enough, right?
Yeah, it's kind of
And
like
even if they don't harm anyone, they just disappear, right? Which means they have to go back to jail or at least to prison, and then there's another hearing, and then it's called a promise to appear. So you have to then, so you get released with a promise with a court date. You have to show up. It's not like you're going to stay under lock and key. Not always, obviously, for some they are, but not everybody. So it's like, okay, I think it's all easier on everyone. Taxpayer money, everything is okay. They're no longer with us. Fine. It's okay.
And the thing that drives me crazy about it is this is a trend that we keep on noticing. And it's not like it's the first time that this shit is being tried. And when we look at the last time that it was tried, the exact same trend was happening. Anytime that there's something like this, people should first thing go, has this been tried before? Yes? If yes, what was the effect of it? Oh, crime skyrocketed and the severity of the crime skyrocketed? This is a bad idea. Let's not do this. That should be the way that it's handled every fucking time. But no, every time. Well, this time it'll work. It wasn't true. Fuck you. If something fails every time, and it fails in a predictable way, fuck you. It's not something that will work. It's not something that you need to try again. Just acknowledge that it fails. Abandon that idea. Move on. Because it's just going to happen again. And it's just going to fuck everything up again. But we keep on getting this shit. Again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, this shit... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the change would be like a radical, complete systemic change, so that's not going to happen. Yeah, Green Badger, the definition of insanity, right? Wasn't true communism. Right?
Yep.
But yeah, no, here it's... But we want
Because I think Canada, you didn't have it to the same degree that we did, but I think you still had it back in the 70s and 80s. You guys still had a crime increase, right?
Canada-wide, I'm not sure. In BC, there was the 60s, I think it was the 60s was a huge crime spree in the province. Like, I think there was a huge rise.
Oh shit, Canada was ahead of the US for once?
I have this feeling it's the 60s here.
Because yeah, a lot of the shit that
we're... look that up. Sorry for the quiet, because
a lot of the shit that we're dealing with right now, and a lot of the policies causing the shit that we're dealing with right now, they're just a second go at the shit that we were doing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s when we had the skyrocketing crime rate then. And people are surprised that we're doing the same things that we did when we had skyrocketing crime rate, and our crime rate is starting to skyrocket. What's ever going wrong? Well, maybe it's because you put in the same shit that we had before when we had this as the response, and we haven't changed as a species. So when you incentivize crime, when you incentivize the antisocial behavior, and by that I mean the original meaning of antisocial behavior, not just I don't like being around people.
Okay. Here, so we are in a downward trend in Canada
Mm-hmm.
compared to the occurrence of the early 60s to the 90s.
Okay, so you did have the
So
60s
it's
to 90s crime
since
spike.
Stats Canada has been collecting criminal statistics since 1962.
Yep.
So not for a very long time for overall crime rates. So this particular article is from 2020. It's from a crime nonprofit here in Canada. So according to Stats Can, crime in Canada largely decreasing for almost 30 years. This current downward trend is in contrast to the growth of crime that occurred from the early 60s through to the early 90s.
Yep.
It was a steady increase until about around 91.
Okay,
when
so yeah,
it plateaued.
you had the same effect that we did, where it was high crime, 60s to
That's what
90s.
I thought. Yeah, the 60s, because I know here there was an exhibition a while ago. I never got to see it at the police museum, but there was a big thing about the 60s, like it got really bad here in the cities. It's because of the change. So one of the things that they attribute it to is the sudden increase of harder drugs available.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of brought in a different type of criminal, and it didn't help.
And I just pulled up the actual crime rate statistics for Canada, so I could get the graph on it. And yeah, you're having effectively the exact same graph that the US is. It was rising up until 91 is the high, and then it started dropping drastically. And then it hit a certain point where it kind of leveled out a little bit, then started bobbing up and down, and then dropped again. And now, since 2014, it's been on a very, very steady rise.
Yeah. But I love this. While it's unclear exactly why we've seen such a downward trend in crime, and it's very certain that crime is impacted by numerous socioeconomic factors. Okay, yes, thank you, Captain Obvious. But I do love, like, there's no clear reason as to why it went down. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. There's no other statistics during that time, like perhaps did we have higher means of production, which we did. Lots of things shut down. So I can't remember when Ontario basically shut down majority of production in
So I just
car
pulled up
manufacturers
the US stats because I wanted to make sure that I was remembering it, that we also had the 91 high and then the low of 2014. And guess what I found? We had the exact same. 91 is our high, then it plummets down by the mid to late 90s. Then it has a slight peak right around 2000. And then it drifts back down lower. The low of 2014, which was what I said for Canada. And since 2014, it's been a steady increase. And it's the same exact fucking thing.
So around 2000, it was probably, I'm going to guess around 2001, because there was a repercussion from 9/11. That probably increased some crime rates.
That's exactly when it was for the US. And let me quickly
Yeah.
double check Canada, because I think you also had you had a 2005 peak.
The fuck happened in 2005?
I don't know. I was about to ask you guys, what are you Canucks getting up to in 2005?
I feel like there was something bad happened, because we had it's in the 80s we had the Montreal massacre at the Polytechnic University. That was I think like 89, maybe a little bit. It was in the 80s anyway. The hell happened in 2005? Oh my god!
So yeah, apparently you have a high spike of 2004 or 2005. Sorry. But yeah, like I said, it's a very similar thing of high 91, drift down, then a spike early 2000s. Yours was mid 2000s, ours was right on 2001. And then drift back down, low point of 2014, start drifting back up.
In March 2005 in Alberta, a man killed 4 RCMP officers before killing himself. They went to execute a warrant for his arrest, so he killed them. But I can't see that being the blip.
Yeah, I can't see that splashing over to a bunch of other people.
That's so that's from a list of
Cannibalistic
Canada's
Wizard.
wars.
2005 is when terrorists attacked the maple syrup reserves.
That, I think, would cause Canada to go into purge mode. What the hell?
You dare attack the maple?
We had to, don't you remember? We had to break into our reserves. It was bad. It was this year, I think. Didn't they have, it was this year that they had to go into the reserve?
The maple reserve?
Yeah.
Did you guys also send your maple reserve to China?
No, I'm not sure. I don't think people were collecting, so we had to go into, because of like COVID or something like that. I don't know.
Because that was the big thing with our strategic reserve in the US. Remember when there was the big stories about the US opening up the strategic fuel reserve?
Oh yeah. Was it because you sent things?
Massive chunk of that went to China.
Oh, okay.
And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's like they opened up the reserve and then like 50 plus of it went straight to China. Made no fucking sense, except it makes all the sense. But yeah, that was a big story for a little bit, that the reserve, when it opened up, ended up sending a massive portion, if not a majority, to China.
June 2005, same-sex marriage legalized. Is that what caused? Is that why? And then in July, it actually was signed, given royal assent. Is that why we had a blip in 2005 in Canada? I knew there was something that happened in 2005 because I was like, what happened? I remember something happened. Oh, and then let's see. Oh no, that won't do anything. Yeah, so that's like one of the bigger things. It's Canada legalized same-sex marriage.
An assassin came out with the number. It was 1 million barrels were sent to China.
Yeesh. Well, take care of your people first, my butt, right?
Well, that's exactly what Biden's doing, I think. Biden's taking care of his main constituency.
And then there was a massive shooting on Yonge Street in Toronto at Christmas that year too. But I think for me, the big one is probably the same-sex marriage thing.
The gays can get married. Time for
Yeah.
violence.
This kind of stuff, like it passed. Everything was like, yay, you know.
So was it the pro or anti side that went around bashing people?
Who knows?
It could go either way. But yeah,
I remember it as being a pretty happy time. Like people, I don't recall, mind you, this is high school, so I don't recall anybody really saying boo or anything like that to it. I'm sure there were, obviously, right? But it was a pretty tight race. It was the final vote count to pass. It was 158 to 133 in its third reading, so it passed, and then it got sent the next month.
And Assassin, I've said it many times, it's a slippery slope fallacy idea. The argument when something could be a slippery slope is it would have been a slippery slope if the argument for gay marriage, for instance, was it's two grown adults that are consenting. What the fuck do you care what they do in their bedroom? That is an argument that if someone went, well, next they're going to say that they want to groom children. No, that would be a slippery slope because the argument was it's two grown children. The part that made it not a slippery slope, the part that was the worst argument ever put forward by fucking anyone in the modern time was they were born that way. Because that opened up so much shit. Anyone that was able to say, well, I was born this way, now had a defense. That was the worst argument. That's the one that they went with. That's the reason why it became a slippery slope. It pisses me off when people say slippery slope is a fallacy. No, pointing out that an argument can be used for a shit ton of other things is not a fallacy. It's pointing out that the argument is fucked. You want your arguments to be applicable only to the people, only to the positions that you're trying to make your argument for, or to things that you're willing to argue for as well. You don't want your argument being able to be used for goddamn pedophiles. Whereas they were born that way? Oh yeah, absolutely. Pedophiles can use, well, we were born this way. We didn't want to have this attraction. We were born this way. It's just a fluke of our genetics that we have this interest. Fuck you. I don't give a shit. It's illegal. I don't give a shit that you were born that way. Being born away is not a defense for it. A defense for gay marriage, a defense for that, or an argument for not giving a shit about it is it's two consenting adults.
Yeah, and it's basically affording a section of the same legal protections that already the majority of your legal population enjoys to another adult legal population. You know,
Yep.
it's a different. We're apples and oranges almost.
Yep, that's why it should have been. It's two consenting adults. What the fuck does it matter to you? You aren't consenting to it? fantastic. You don't get involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's two consenting adults. Those are the only parties being involved.
Two
And-
consenting non-consanguineous adults, because that's important too. At least
Yep.
here it is.
And yeah, that's exactly the point, Richard, that it can be used. Fuck it. That's exactly the point, Dick. I know exactly why you chose that name. I'll humor you on it. That's exactly the point, Dick. That argument clears everyone. Because if you can argue that something is a facet of your birth, then you should be off scot-free because you were born that way. That's a terrible argument. I don't give a shit how you were born. What I give a shit about is...
Well, it wouldn't a simple and it could be too simple of an answer. It's this is the answer. It's not. It doesn't matter if you're born a certain way. You live in this society. You choose to be a citizen of this country. These are the laws of this country, regardless of whether you're born this way or that way. This is at this moment in time considered illegal, and then go from there.
I wouldn't even go for at this moment in time because a fair chunk of this, it should
Well,
be,
they're
to my
campaigning
mind,
it, right?
illegal for all time. So at this time it's illegal. I'll say that for minor things like at this time it's illegal to just start selling food to the people outside your house. Because it is. You need the proper paperwork to do that at this time. But when it comes to murder, I'm not going to tack on the at this time murder's legal. No, murder should be fucking illegal. So, to me, it's I don't care if you were born that way. This is an action that we're trying to dissuade. So, we have laws against it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want people to murder. Doesn't matter if you were born naturally with a murderous inclination. We don't want people to murder.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, if you were born with a natural inclination to murder, and we don't want people to murder, then our only solution really is if you have a natural inclination and you have absolutely no ability to control yourself, is remove you from the population.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only solution. If there's no other way to prevent you from murder.
There's two things then. Either we bring back institutions, at least here, or we make it a permanent removal.
Yep. Yeah, and
then that has to be a new law and new everything put around that.
Yep, and I've said many times that we need to bring back the institutions.
Eugenics.
We threw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, no, because eugenics would be purging someone because they have an undesirable trait. This is you're purging someone who is performing undesirable actions and claiming
but
it's due to
if we say it's a
trait.
Gene of violence, can you not then be testing so that everybody who's born is tested for that?
Well, no, because each person would still have the ability to choose their action. Because there's a high likelihood that I have a gene that would lend towards violent action. I mean, I was very good in football, and I have had to control my anger. I used to be really fucking angry all the time.
So you're saying we all have, so we are all born with something, but we have a choice.
Yep, I think that we all have a choice. I'm saying that if someone is saying that they have absolutely no choice and that they're just born this way, so they have no ability to control themselves.
I've seen this argument where they're using both. So they're not sticking to one, which is very disingenuous, right?
Yep, and that's the part that pisses
They're saying
me off.
I'm born this way, but also I have a choice because I know it's wrong, but I just feel this way. Or whatever. Yep. That's why it should be decriminalized, because I shouldn't have to hide this. I should get help or whatever.
Oh no, you should get help. absolutely should get help. It should be criminal to act on that inclination. It should absolutely be criminal to act on the inclination. There's a bunch of times that I'm going, man, it would feel really good to just bash this person's head in. Probably one of the best examples. I was just finishing out a 16-hour shift as an EMT. And it was a 16-hour shift as an EMT, coming off of a 8-hour shift as a nighttime concierge, with 2 hours in between clock out as the nighttime concierge and clock in as the EMT. I have been up for 36 hours by this point. I'm trying to drive home, and there's the limiting down of the highway due to, I think it was an accident that night. Perfectly fine with that. Pissed me off that there was a delay, but perfectly fine with that. Then I get to the other side of the accident, and everything starts opening up, and people start splitting off into the lanes that are now open, and they just fucking foot on gas and vroom. Fantastic. So I see this happening in front of me. Then there's 4 cars in front of me. And these 4 cars hit that point. One goes all the way over to the left-hand lane. The next car goes to the second from the left. The next one goes to the second from the right. The last one stays in the right-hand lane. And these 4 cars travel at the exact same fucking speed. This is a highway. The highway was a 65-mile-an-hour highway.
Oh my god, I would be in so much. I would be like, God, I would want to smash my car into them so badly.
They spread out, and they were going 20. 4 cars all the way across this fucking highway, going 20 miles an hour, because that was the speed that we had to go at when we were going by this fucking traffic area.
Oh no.
And they just spread out. They don't speed up. They're still going fucking 20. I'm trapped behind these motherfuckers, and I am contemplating putting my car into auto, popping open my door, sprinting forward to grab onto one of the cars in front of me, rip that door open, drag the person from the vehicle, kick the shit out of them as I turn their car into one of the other fuckers and throw them underneath the wheel of a third, then wait until my car comes back level with me, climb back in, and fucking vroom. Just because that was not something that I consciously thought of, but something that just in my rage at what the fuck was going on popped into my head, does not mean that I should have been perfectly within the law to do so. And I realized that, while as amusing of a thought as this is, I am not going to pop open my door, run up, drag someone from their car, beat the shit out of them, and then toss them under the wheels of another car as I steer their car into another car. This is not something I'm actually going to do. I had control.
Makes you feel good thinking it, though.
It felt amazing thinking about it. But I had control. I knew what I was going to do. I knew how I was going to react. And I chose how I was going to react and what I was going to do. So just because I had that natural response in my head of, God damn it, I want to do this. Oh, if you think that people weren't honking at these fuckers, Assassin, are you high?
They probably didn't care, or they knew exactly what they were doing, because there's those kind of horrible, horrible people.
Yeah.
You know?
So this was something that, like I said, it was completely natural. It wasn't a thought that I had to force. It wasn't something that came from elsewhere. That thought came from me. That entire plan and the glee of thinking about this plan came from me. Also coming from me was the other element of me going, no. And because I was conscious and I was thinking and I had the ability to decide my actions, the part that was actually me was the no. Because that was the part that I consciously chose. So the I was born this way, bullshit. That wouldn't have been a viable defense had I decided to do that shit to those 4 fucks. Though I'm willing to bet there wouldn't have been a fucking jury in the land that would have convicted me had they been given the full explanation. All I would have had to do is gone up to the stand and said, this is the reason why I threw him under the other vehicle's wheels, and they would have gone, right, these 4 are fucking monsters, have a good day, sir. But I still chose, and it was entirely me choosing. That's the thing that drives me crazy about that argument, because I don't give a shit how you're born. You still get to choose. And it's the reason why it pisses me off every time I hear someone try to hide behind this or that or the other disorder. When people say, I can't help that I'm an asshole. I have Asperger syndrome. Fuck you. I have Asperger syndrome. I try not to be an asshole the vast majority of the time. Am I always successful? No. Did I choose the action that resulted in me seeming like an asshole? Yes. Me having Asperger syndrome is not the reason why I act the way that I do. It's not the reason that I'm an asshole when I'm an asshole. When I'm an asshole, I'm just a fucking asshole. The thing that it does is it makes certain things difficult. So if I'm trying to read someone's facial expressions, there's a high probability I'm going to get that shit wrong. But I still choose my actions. And that's what pisses me off. Because the moment that you say, well, I was born this way, this is just how this works. Fuck you. That doesn't work. It is just trying to absolve yourself of whatever the hell you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to say, well, it's not my fault I kicked the shit out of this person. I have anger issues. That's exactly your fucking problem. That you kicked the shit out of this person. Yeah, you didn't choose to be angry. You chose to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah, you could have, if you could have redirected that to a garbage can.
Yep. You could have redirected it to a garbage can. Or you could do what I've done the vast majority of the time and gone, no, this is not something that is deserving of this level of anger. I feel this level of anger. Stop. Calm yourself the fuck down.
Mm-hmm.
And I will contain myself and I will calm myself down. Because I realize that what got me so pissed off is not something that should have gotten me that pissed off. So, the vast majority of the time, I'm really fucking calm. Even in rather hectic situations. Even in situations that piss people off. Despite, when I was younger, being very angry, I have control over myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to maintain that control over myself. And I did that because I realized that just because it was normal for me to get angry about some things, didn't mean that it was right for me to get angry over some things.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't mean that I was completely powerless to control how I reacted or what I said. No, I realized that I had that ability and I ruthlessly enforced it upon myself. That's the reason why I was born this way. It pisses me off so much. It's the worst argument for fucking anything. It should never be used. It should have never been used. It opened the door for fucking everything.
Yeah. And now it's going to be a hard fight, really.
Yep, because now that Cat is out of the bag, the wish has already been granted by the genie, whatever the fuck you want to phrase it as. So there's a problem because now everyone's seen that I can't help it. I was born this way. One moment, changing a headphone battery. I can still speak though. But when people see that I can't, or I should be okay, I should be allowed to do this because I was born this way, worked as an argument. Now everyone, doesn't matter what the fuck they're arguing for, will be able to use that argument. And you have to come up with a goddamn justification of why it doesn't work in this instance when it worked in that instance. And the only way that you'll be able to do that is if you pare it back down to the fact that you were born that way doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that it was two consenting adults.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else was involved. Two consenting adults consenting to do shit to each other. Who the fuck does it matter to? Even if you're trying to say, well, they're damning themselves to hell. Okay, they might be. They're choosing to. That kills that argument right there. They're able to decide to do something wrong, just like everyone else is able to decide to do something that you think is wrong. And they can disagree. They can say that this is right. If you want to then argue with them and say that, well, no, you're doing something horrendous, you can argue with them. But that's where that ends. As long as it's two consenting adults, no permanent injury, everyone else is free to do whatever the fuck they do, shouldn't fucking matter to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that argument just pissed me off because it became the go-to argument, and it was the worst argument because it is an argument designed to be, or not designed to be because that adds intention, but it is an argument that if you were trying to design a more slippery slope of an argument, you couldn't. Every other argument is more contained than the I was born this way argument. So that's my rant for that, because that just pisses me off every time that I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. That is very, very frustrating because the harm that is now bringing, right, is just it's just
It's
really hard.
absolutely monstrous.
And the thing is, and I would like call it naive, but I'd like to think that no, it's just nobody ever thought that that's what it would happen, that would open the floodgates eventually, because it took some time, right, for that to actually happen. But yeah.
But yeah. And like I said, if we were going to take the, well, I was born this way argument at face value from people, if a murderer is born that way, then the only way to have them not murder is to permanently remove them. Either through an institution, a permanent psychological hold, through permanent prison sentence, or through execution. Those are the only three options, because you can't just release them because they were born that way. They're going to reoffend.
Yeah.
That's
bad seed.
Yeah. And at that point, you're left with a eugenics argument, because if you're born that way, if you're born to commit that crime, yeah, then you have to be gotten rid of if we want to get rid of that crime. Now, I don't think the vast majority... I will say that I think that there's probably a certain minority of people, and I'm not saying certain minority is a certain minority group, I'm saying a certain minority as in, I believe
Like a
that
group of
there's
people.
a certain percentage of the population that is so ridiculously good in the truest meaning of good that it doesn't matter how horrendously you treat them throughout their entire life, they will still refuse to harm another person. And then you have people that are on the opposite end of it doesn't matter how amazingly they're treated throughout their entire life, they will still be going, you know, I decided to remove a baby's legs. Why did you decide to remove a baby's legs?
I want to see a wiggle.
I wanted to hear it scream. The fuck? There's always going to be those two groups. The vast majority of people are somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that you want to encourage as many people to be good as you possibly can. And if you can come up with a mechanism that you're even able to get people that wouldn't be good to go, for that reward, I'll be good. That's a better system than one where you're just relying on that one portion of the population that will always be good. Which is why I fucking hate socialism, which is why I fucking hate communism, which is why I fucking hate a lot of other systems. Because capitalism kind of manages to do this. You have assholes that wouldn't care about helping people, but when the only reliable way of making money and keeping money is by providing people with shit that they want, then even the person who doesn't give a shit about what other people want, if they want money, they're now going, okay, so this person wants that, let me make sure that I get them this. They'll pay me and I get money. It benefits everyone. But, yeah, they born this way, there's a certain percent of the population that, yeah, I'm willing to bet that they're just so fucked from the get-go. Now, do we have the ability to determine this? No.
Cryptic.
Do I think that we should act like we have the ability to determine this? No. But there's probably going to be that amount, which is why I said that there's never going to be a point where you completely remove crime. You're never going to reach a point where there's zero homicide. You're never going to reach a point where there's zero rape, where there's zero theft. What you can do is you can reach that basement level.
There was a movie, I think it's a movie, where basically they determined that art gave you emotions, right?
Oh, you're talking about the Equilibrium.
Yeah, Equilibrium, that's the one.
Christian Bale and Sean Bean.
Yeah, that's the one. So
fantastic fucking movie. It was a contemporary of The Matrix, and
that nobody saw because The
Matrix came out just right before, and it got all the hype, and it just went under everyone's radar. If you haven't seen Equilibrium, watch Equilibrium. It's fucking awesome.
It makes you think. So it basically the idea is that art stimulates people too much, hence crime.
Yep.
So there's mood suppressor drugs and all that sort of stuff. So it's a very, very dire dystopian idea of the future.
And the thing is that it does a good job of portraying the dystopia, because a lot of dystopias, they just make it way too fucking dark and everything shit for everyone.
But no, because the idea is like you take your pill, you have your family life, everything is fine. Like everyone is in a society.
Your life is good.
Yeah.
Society's been advancing and doing fantastic things, but it's at this inhuman cost. And it stresses that aspect, but it isn't just going like, yeah, everything's gone to shit like so many other dystopias. it shows that there is a world that is functioning and that it's doing awesome shit. But is it really worth the cost?
Mm-hmm.
And hello, Cryptic. You're heavy breathing into the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Not a problem.
No, I think Equilibrium is like what you call that? 1984.
Yep.
But more high tech.
Yeah,
Same
it's
thing. Yeah.
high-tech 1984, where it is the dystopia in it isn't as dark as 1984, because 1984 is one of those where everything's shit for everyone, except maybe the high party members, but even then it seems like it's shit for the high party members.
Yeah.
This one, like I said, it shows that the world is still moving, and it seems to have some benefits, but are those benefits worth the cost? And that's where I think a lot more dystopia should be. It shouldn't just be, yeah, this obviously evil thing that gives absolutely no benefits, just fucks over everyone, because that's an easy thing to be against.
I think it has more realism to it.
Yep.
You can see sort of where, and obviously with a lot of these things, it is over exaggerated to say the point. But with this one, you can see where they may have started from and how this could actually be realistic, because we have already had a history of book burnings, right? Bonfire of the Vanities, we're talking about centuries ago, right? So things like this come in cycles depending on whatever. And in this case, it's not so much a religious focus as criminal, societal control, whatever focus. So that's what I think makes it a little bit more real feeling versus, say, 1984. While that one has its feelings of realities now. It wasn't necessarily back then when the movie came out, but you could see other aspects of it.
Yeah, 1984 is after centuries under the authoritarian, whereas Equilibrium is you're still seeing the echoes and it hasn't started to break down yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but thing is also in Equilibrium, they have mood suppressing medicine, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What the hell are we doing to our kids right now?
Yep.
True.
Just saying, it's the same thing, right? So
the advent of the convenient, and I'm not saying it's not a real thing, to preface it, but having ADD as a stamp on every child, or potentially to have that as a child, because, say, a teacher is not well trained and doesn't have the skills to deal with that.
Yeah,
And then so you have to medicate your kid to go to school, right?
Yeah, saying that something is overprescribed and overdiagnosed is not saying that it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist, exactly. Yeah, because
and the same thing is happening with, to go back to something that I'm intimately familiar with, when it comes to autism and Asperger syndrome.
Yeah,
the same thing's happening there, because I've talked about this. Do you know what the range for the eye contact avoidance is when it comes to being a symptom of autism?
No.
The new range. So the new range goes from severe discomfort making eye contact, which used to be the symptom. It used to be eye contact avoidance was a symptom of autism and Asperger syndrome.
Okay.
But now the range is eye contact avoidance to obsessive eye contact.
So, like, you have to make contact?
So it ranges from you can't really make eye contact without feeling freaked out to you can't not make eye contact without feeling freaked out.
So everything, basically.
Yes.
So that's
So-
it's useless. It's a useless diagnostic tool.
Another really good one is one of the symptoms that it wasn't always a symptom that would appear. None of the autism symptoms were hard and fast. Every autistic person would have these, but they were the list of symptoms, and if you had a sufficient number, then you would be categorized as autistic or one of the variant-related disorders like Asperger syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is touch avoidance. And the old system had a really good way of dealing with this because there were two things that could be endemic of Asperger syndrome and autism, because you did have touch avoidant Spurgs, and then you had people that needed positive pressure, which, if you've ever heard of a hugging machine, hugging machines were made for Spurgs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. I got put out of a job. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nice. But yeah, there's
You can be
some
a
Spurgs.
personal hugging machine.
Yeah.
There's some Spurgs that, and autists, that when they start getting worked up, they need to be kind of squeezed.
And then you have the weight blankets, the weighted blankets too.
Yep, which also helps with that. But there's
Yeah.
actually machines that are just these padded arms, effectively,
Mhm.
that will squeeze the ever-living hell out of a person. And it's made for Spurgs, because
Interesting.
if you're starting to kind of spiral out and you're one of the Spurgs that needs this contact, then you go up to the machine, you'll activate it, it'll squeeze you, and you'll get that positive pressure, and it will help calm you back down. Then, like I said,
Mhm.
there's the touch avoidant. And the old way of phrasing this was that there were two ranges, and these were different symptoms. Because again, you don't have to have every symptom.
Mhm.
So some of the symptoms can sound kind of opposing, but it's that each of them starts a certain bit away from standard, so it doesn't include the standard.
Mhm.
Well, the new system makes these part of the same symptom, and they removed that middle exclusion. So now a new symptom is if you are touch avoidant all the way up to compulsive interest in touch. So touch
Okay.
avoidant to tactile focus or tactile obsession.
Again,
Everyone.
yeah. So it's
It gets better. So
what a complete. Could talk about causing more harm for the people than help.
Yep. And it gets even better. So Asperger syndrome, autism, we all know Asperger syndrome and autism as having asocial characteristics, right? So
Mhm.
they have difficulty to almost complete inability to read facial expressions, for instance. This is
Mhm.
something that's considered asocial. Not
Sort of
necessarily
like the
antisocial. But
reading the room sort of feeling
yeah,
or something
they
like that. Yeah.
have things that make it so that they don't fit in socially.
Mhm.
And these are asocial to antisocial characteristics, because asocial just means that you don't really fit in. Antisocial means that you're kind of dead set against.
Mhm.
So we used to have the range of social awareness being from the asocial to the antisocial for Asperger's and autism disorder. And that was changed as well. Because they said that there's some people that have a lot of the same symptoms as Asperger's and autism, that they're actually hypersocial. So rather than making a new disorder and having it be its own thing, which it really should be, they went, okay, what we'll do is we'll have the range for the social aspect for autism range from the anti/asocial end of the spectrum to the hyper-social end of the spectrum.
What?
This is getting to be a bit of a refrain. What does that include, Sora?
Everything!
Exactly. Yeah,
Jesus Christ, this is criminal. This is like you are causing harm. Because you are like... Oh my god.
They effectively redefined autism spectrum disorder as including every single person alive.
Could you guys imagine?
I mean...
Could you guys imagine, Beethoven, Mozart, I don't know, pick a fucking famous artist. Could you imagine, like, I don't know, Albert Einstein nowadays, right? They'd be so fucking drugged up because of this definition of what autism is nowadays, or
well, for many of them, it would be due to the definition of ADD and ADHD.
right, or Asperger's, whatever you want to categorize them at the moment.
Yep.
They would be so suppressed on drugs they would never produce the wonderful music and science that they produce, right? And that's just fucking madness.
Yep. And again, this isn't saying that there's no such thing as Asperger's syndrome, because I've said I have Asperger's syndrome. There is Asperger's syndrome. There are people that need help due to having Asperger's syndrome and needing the social training. You have some that have it and they're able to just kind of slog through it themselves and figure shit out as they go. But the more severe cases, they need assistance. And even the ones that, given enough time, will slog through it themselves, they'd still benefit from having other people help them go through it. So having a useful definition, having a useful diagnosis is vital.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that have ADHD, proper ADHD, and they need something to help them focus. There are meds that can help them focus. There are just other therapies that can help them learn how to focus. These people need to get those therapies. They need to get the medicines if the medicines are right for them. No one's saying anything different than that. But there's a shit ton of people that are now being told that they have ADHD. And the evidence for them having ADHD, they're a male child in first grade, and they have trouble sitting still.
Jesus Christ.
That's just being a male child.
It's just being a kid.
It is just being a kid to a large extent, but there's
so I have a
to
personal
be a bit more rambunctious. Let's say.
I have the personal experience this through a classmate of mine. So she was a girl was in her class from like kindergarten to third grade. And she was like that. She couldn't sit still. She had trouble concentrating. She was kind of all over the place. She wasn't like destructive, or disruptive, pardon me. She wasn't trying to like bug people, but like just by being antsy and moving all over the place, right? That caused issues. And my mom and her mom used to talk a lot, and basically the school had wanted to medicate her. That was the first thing. That's like, it's obvious she has learning disability and she has like ADD, because I don't think ADHD was a thing yet in the early 90s, in the like mid 90s. I mean, we would have been mid 90s then.
It was more
I'm not
often
sure
that there was the distinction made between ADD and ADHD.
I can't remember what it was that they were trying to push on the mom, but basically saying that, hey, your daughter needs meds to be
Mhm.
basically comatose in class because she's
Mhm.
disruptive. Well, you know what it ended up being? The one thing nobody asked. Can you
Which was?
see?
Ah. Yep.
No, she could not. Because the one time we get our eyes checked is like maybe preschool, and then after that it's sort of like if people notice that you're not concentrating or whatever. No, but it should have been the thing, because why was she all over the place? Because she didn't realize that she should be saying she can't see, because that was how she was for a very long time, and nobody noticed because she didn't necessarily sit glued to the TV. She didn't stick her nose to the paper, but seeing words was different, you know? So, yeah, she got like super thick glasses and she was fine.
Yeah. And this is just something that keeps on happening, where there's shit that it has other explanations and it has other ways of dealing with it. If a child is rambunctious and they're having trouble sitting down in class, we used to have a time of day that was entirely designed to deal with that. It was called recess.
Mhm.
You'd go out, you'd run around like a fucking madman, then you'd come back in, and you will have just burnt off a shit ton of energy, and suddenly you're able to sit still a hell of a lot better. And if you notice that a bunch of the students in your class are always fiddling with shit and trying to do something, well, change how you teach a little bit, add in more hands-on things. That way,
We
they're
had
able to use that energy to actually learn. A good example of this is something that one of my college professors did. He was a man that was very interesting and had one of the most unfortunate characteristics that I can explain, which is he was stuck in permanent monotone.
Oh.
And it was the weirdest shit because the man obviously knew his shit. And he could be animated as all hell while giving a lecture, damn near cheerleading in front of the class. But his voice would always stay at this pace. And
Is it
this
like
tone.
that actor? There's that one that was always
Ben Stein?
Yes.
Yes, it was
I'm
like
not, I'm
Ben
not sure if he's
Stein.
I don't know if he's an actor, but
he's an actor and did a few other things as well. But
yeah,
he's an actor. So yeah, he had the Ben Stein voice going for him, and he could be, like I said, jumping up and down and excited. He realized this, so the very first day he was explaining cladistics. Have any of you heard the term cladistics before?
No.
Cladistics is, the tree of life?
Yes.
So when you look at the tree of life, or the evolutionary tree, the groupings within that are clades. So cladistics is the study of and the assembly of clades for the tree of life. And technically, the tree of life is a cladogram because it's just a diagram of all these clades. So it's a cladogram. That's what cladistics is. It's that study. He was an evolutionary biologist. He was very interested in cladistics. And he was explaining this. And he gave the verbal explanation, but he kind of realized that he had this voice quality, which made things difficult to make sure that everyone was engaged. So after explaining it, he then gave us a quick assignment to fill out right then and there. We did that. He kind of split us into the lab groups, We did that. And then immediately after we finished that, he went, okay, everyone up. We're going out to the football field. And he grabbed a bunch of flags. He grabbed a bunch of bits of rope. He grabbed a tape measure and one of those wheeling measurement devices where you just kind of stick it on the ground and push it in front of you. And we all went out to the football field. And then he started going, okay, so we're doing this so that you can actually figure out the scaling. Because we already talked about cladistics and how you determine when there's a break. And you guys worked through the sheet, figured out where the breaks were.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure that everyone has their sheet correct. So you guys have the sheets because I told you to grab them, right? Okay, pull them out, look at the sheet. So if this location is this species, and he stuck one of the flags in the ground and tied a piece of rope to it, where would the next species be if every yard is this number of hundreds of thousands of years?
Mm-hmm.
And we started making the cladogram on the football field using the football field's markers to help us determine the rate or the length of the line if it was actually proportional to the time period that it took between the different species and their evolution. When we reached a certain point where we had done like 3 of the species and we had exhausted the football field, he went, okay, so using the same calculation that we were just using for these 3 species, the next species that's on that sheet would be in this city this far away from us.
Mm-hmm.
The next species would be in this city this far away from us. The next species would end up being in the middle of the ocean this far away from us. This species would be in this European country.
Yeah.
The next one would be in this Asian country. The next one would be in the Pacific Ocean. The next one would be on the West Coast. The next one. And he just walked us through the entire logic until the last species, it had been such a long period of time that with the calculations that he had done, I can't remember the exact number of years that he had for each yard, but for the calculation that we were using for yards, the last flag of the cladogram would be placed about 10 feet away from the first flag of the cladogram. Which, that was a fantastic way of getting the lesson across. And he did that because he realized that, yeah, he has this very dry, dull-sounding voice. So throughout his entire lesson plan, and throughout the entire year, he would do a lecture, and his lecture would be a fraction of what a lot of the other professors' lecture time was. And then he would go through the rest of the information in more physical ways of explaining it so that people wouldn't just zone out and pass out in the middle of class, but were actually active, and it kept people interested, kept people into the class, and made it easier for a lot of people to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't want to have to do that. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, I think those kind of teachers and professors who do that are a special breed.
Yep.
It's not even knowing that you have limitations, so you're trying to go around them. I think it just takes a certain desire to teach and the ability to do so in various ways. So,
Yep.
but yeah, no, they don't want to do that.
Yeah. And it's infuriating because instead what happens is we drug up people because they're easier to manage when drugged up.
Yeah.
And I just
Sadly.
realized the time it is.
Oh yes, we have been going for a little bit.
Yes, we have. Do you guys want to add in any last things? Was there anything that you were dying to talk about that we didn't get to? Or
No?
do we want to go to parting words?
We can go to parting words.
Departing words. Yep.
Okay, which of you
Even-
wants to go first?
Ladies first. Go ahead, Cryptic.
Thank you. Don't eat glue. Okay.
Don't eat glue. Copy that.
Don't eat glue. No, I mean, enjoy every moment of your life. Don't let it get past you. Life is fleeting and short, so
Mm-hmm.
enjoy.
Part of me was half expecting after your don't eat glue, you're going to toss out a, unless it's before it's turned into glue, then horse meat's delicious.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, Sora, your parting
I
words?
say, fight the man. Don't let them tell you what to do. You eat that glue stick. I believe in you.
And
We're gonna
All
fight
thoughts
later,
are my
so-
own and not in collaboration with the minions of the zoo.
So we're gonna fight later, okay? You and I.
also make sure that you check your glue to see that it's non-toxic before you end up consuming it.
Paste.
I was really worried when you started the that you're going to go toxic glue.
Smells better.
But
Forbidden jelly.
exactly, that's what I was worried about. I'll leave off with my standard of if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
Good night.
Good night.